Fabian Picardo was introduced by the British ambassador to Spain, who described the ROC as a modern, vibrant democracy. Hugh Elliott said he was delighted to be playing a role in these historic times, adding the UK was ready to move on to a treaty when the EU was. The aim, he said, is to create confidence, certainty and lasting stability to life in the campo. The Chief Minister had only been talking for a few minutes when the incident with Vox Youth happened, with those in the room initially confused as to where the noise was coming from, and later concerned about the obvious security breach.
Ya empezamos. Quiero añadir también mi agradecimiento.
Esto es algo del directo. Vamos a ver si lo...
¿Sigo? Quiero añadir también mi agradecimiento, claro está, al Club Siglo XXI.
Despite the disruption and the hostile questions that would follow the address from journalists on the panel, the Chief Minister does not believe the message falls on deaf ears and refuses to be deterred.
Well, I think that this is the work that we have to do. This was the opportunity to start the process of evangelizing the work that we're doing in the potential treaty, in the New Year's Eve agreement. I think that the fact that we're meeting an audience that is not going to be as receptive as if I was addressing my fellow members of the GSLP in the Macintosh Hall should not ever push us back. What we have to do is make sure that our message goes out, and a lot of people will have left here, not with the impressions that perhaps you might have heard from the top table, but with different impressions that may be different to the impressions with which they arrived. That's the job that the Chief Minister of Gibraltar has to do in difficult but important fora like this.
The Chief Minister spoke of building a better world for future generations. Dialogue, he said, isn't humiliating, but essential for two sides to know how the other is thinking. It's the only path to progress. He spoke of the symbiotic relationship between Gibraltar and the campo, the opportunities, the potential and the possibilities.
My message, one of dialogue, cooperation and optimism, that although the treaty is taking longer than we would have expected, although the mandate is not yet out, the EU mandate, when it comes out, I'm sure will not be something that we enjoy reading because it will be their opening position, but that I think that we will be able, from my sense of this negotiation, we will be able to conclude a treaty which will be good for Gibraltar and will be good for the Campo de Gibraltar, and I think that win-win which we found in the New Year's Eve agreement, we can take forward into a treaty.
Fabian Picardo said this moment presented a historic opportunity. He, however, highlighted the significance of having shelved sovereignty, because he said the reality is no side will change its position on that, or cross its red lines. Some would be surprised to hear it was under a PP government that the winds of change and an improved outlook on Gibraltar were first felt.
That process started not with the PSOE government, but with the Partido Popular in government, with Mariano Rajoy as president of the government, and with Señor Dastis as foreign minister, and we have to recognize it. And in recognizing it, we are helping PSOE and its foreign ministers to show that they were not the ones who took that step, because they are now accused by the very same Partido Popular who hypocritically forgets what they did in government, that they would not have put sovereignty to one side, etc., etc. So I think it's important that we do a fair and objective analysis of the history of the past 3 years, because that assists us also in going forward.
But going forward will not be without its challenges, despite the political goodwill. When the journalists on the panel were asked what headline they would take with them, both opted to perpetuate negativity. The Chief Minister's message in Madrid today, one of cooperation, dialogue and optimism. But if the day's proved anything, it's that there's still a lot of work to be done in putting that message across. Christine Vasquez reporting for GBC from Madrid.